Drum roll, please. It is time for my February wrap up. Ow, bro. Oh my god. I just slapped my laptop. Hi guys, my name is Hannah and I like talking about books, making content about books, and reading books. And welcome back to my channel. Welcome back if you have been here before. Kind of a slay on your behalf, so well done. I am so excited today to be talking through all the books that I read in February, even though it is now halfway through March, which is kind of like crazy to say that we're literally already in springtime, but I am so ready, guys. The sun is shining. I'm filming this at 4 p.m. We're not in the pits of darkness. I feel like I have come out through the other side. Books, baby. Hi guys, hello. Today we are going to talk through my February reads. It is now obviously March and when you're watching this, but I want to talk through all the 10 books that I read in February. There are 2 books I didn't include in this list, so technically it is 12. These 2 books I didn't include were these short little short story novellas, and I just feel like they were not to be savage, just not even worth talking about. So if you're wondering how many books I really feel like I did read, I'm gonna say 10, and let's get started and talk about all the amazing reads and some of the weird, confusing reads I had as well, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Before we dive in, I wanted to share my new addition to my bookshelf, this little friend of mine. If you don't know this, how would you? I love frogs. I love frogs. I think they're so funny. And this is my frog, and he has a book and a cup of coffee, and he's in this chair, and I love him, and he's my best friend. And he's currently sitting on top of ACOTAR as a point of beauty and honor, because holy shit, we are getting ACOTAR 6 and 7. I am beyond thrilled at that news. If you've not seen the news, then anyway, I am so excited to be getting 2 books very soon in the ACOTAR series, and I, to be honest with you, will be doing a reread, but I am very much in the thick of it, in the middle of Throne of Glass. So guys, it is, the order of operations is Throne of Glass, finish that. I'm currently reading Tower of Dawn, I think, no. Empire of Storms. Ugh, how could I forget? Then we're going to finish the rest of Throne of Glass. Then we're going into Crescent City. Then we're going into the reread. So I have a few months. October. I have 8 months until the next act. That's loads of time to get all those books done. Mark my words. I will be doing a reread. I will probably find that quite emotional, but I think it will make me very excited for the ACOTAR books. Anyway, the first book I finished in February was Heavenly Bodies by Emmanuel Eriu. This was an incredible romantasy read. I've owned this book for quite a while, and it has been on my TBR for quite a few months, and I have been meaning to pick it up because I've heard such amazing things about it. So it is categorized as celestial fantasy, let's call it that, and basically everything's ruled by stars. So it's and then everything is also kind of astrological, I guess. Essentially, the main character, Alara, has been given this prophecy that she will fall for a star. So stars are the gods in this world, and that it will kill them both. So basically, this star is on the hunt for her, and she basically takes refuge in the basically opposite city to her. So she's from the sort of night part of the world, and she goes to the more sun, it's called Helios, and she basically teams up with a prince called Enzo or Lorenzo, trying to figure out how to deal with the fact that she is being hunted by this star. And there's a romance, and everything goes from there. What my favorite thing about this was the romance, not to be basic, but the yearning in this from Prince Enzo was just incredible. It was just everything I want in a romantasy, and I did rate it 5 stars just because I thought it was the yearning was just incredible, and it also ends on such a cliffhanger that had me gasping and dying for book 2. So if you're in the mood for just like a good adventure, good plot, found family as well, mixed with just like a really strong like romance story, because I do sometimes feel like in some fantasies, like the romance isn't, you know, what you're in the mood for, and it's too much romance, but like this really like found the balance so well, and so that's what I loved about it, and I'm so glad I finally picked it up. It took me long enough, honestly. Go definitely pick this up if you're in the mood for a romantasy and one that is full of yearning, love, and adventure, and a cliffhanger. So slay. After that, I continued my heated rivalry obsession / journey, if you will, and I read the remaining books in the Game Changer series. So that's what the series is called, that heated rivalry is included in, I guess. So in January, I read Heated Rivalry and I read The Long Game, and I rated them both 5 stars, and I watched the show and I watched the show again, and it is an obsession. Like, let's just be honest. There's something about it that's like so easy to be obsessive about, and that's just who I am. So I loved it. So then I decided in February that I was going to go back and read the series like in the correct order, because Heated Rivalry is actually the second book in the series, and Long Game I think is 5. So I wanted to go back and read all the other books that are part of the series. So I read The Game Changer, which is Scott and Kip's story. I loved it. Number 6. So it starts with Game Changer, Scott and Kip's story. Then I moved to The Tough Guy, which is about Ryan Price. And then I moved to Common Goal, which is about Eric Bennett. Role Model, which is, I'm forgetting, Troy, I think his name is. So those are the 4 that I read. And I wanted to do like a little bit of a, like, I kind of have like more of like a general rating for the whole series, and like it is usually between like, I want to say like 3.5, like on the lowest. There's only one book I would say with 3.5, and that was Common Goal. That just like wasn't my favorite in the series. I found it quite hard to like cheer on those characters. They just like weren't my vibe. But doesn't mean to say I didn't like it, because 3.5 is still a really good rating. I'm going to give just an overall general rating for the series, which is, I'm going to say, between 4 and 5 stars. And so my favorite books in order, starting with my favorite to my least favorite. Okay, my favorite, The Long Game. I feel emotional just thinking about it. The Heated Rivalry. Then it goes Role Model, Game Changer, Tough Guy, and Common Goal. So that's like my official, like my least favorite one is Common Goal. I just didn't find that one like that engaging, that interesting, but I think it like the overall plot, like it's really fun in all of the books to see all the like characters that you meet originally in Heated Rivalry, like make cameos and stuff, like especially Ilya, like he's like mentioned in all the books so much, and that's like one of my favorite things. I have to say, like out of the ones I read in February, my favorite one was Role Model, which is about Troy and Harrison, and I just loved that. I love not only their love story, I just love all the bigger themes going on about, like, there was just topics of like misogynistic behavior, of like rising above that, of like advocating for women and like things like this, and like just being like open and transparent about like mental health issues and anxiety and depression and difficult family relationships. There was just like so much depth in that book that I just like ate it up. And I thought it was so well done and such a beautiful, heartfelt story. So I would honestly recommend the whole entire series if you haven't already, if I haven't bothered you enough about it. Yeah, highly recommend the whole series, and I'm really glad I've like officially read and finished the whole series, and I can't wait for the new book to come out, which is Unrivaled, but I think that's not going to be until next year, so I will be crying until then. I mentioned in my January wrap up how I've been on like such a kick with audiobooks, and this month was like no different. All the Game Changers books I listened to as audiobooks, and I also listened to this book, which is called Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. This is a new release from her. She also released a autobiography about growing up as a child star and her relationship with her mom. Half His Age is her debut fiction novel, and I hadn't read her like other nonfiction, so I just heard some interesting things about this, and I was just intrigued, so I decided to pick it up as an audiobook. This gripped me. The narration in this, because it's actually Jeanette that narrates the audiobook, like gripped me from like the first second, and I found it really hard trying to like rate this book and explain to people why they should listen or read it, because it's kind of disturbing. So what do I mean by that? This is basically a first-person point of view story about a teenage girl that ends up having a age gap relationship with her like English teacher in high school, and I think she's 17. Like, this is an uncomfortable book to read because that's not really a situation like an underage dating, age gap. It's not so much the age gap, but it's more that she is underage. That is obviously like quite uncomfortable to read about, and she makes a lot of choices that like you're not really cheering her on, but you can't help. It's like seeing a car crash. Like, you can't help but look and want to like try and understand her and her thinking and like why she's like making the decision that she's making. And like, I just loved how like almost obsessive this writing style was, like this compulsive thoughts that this character was having. Like, it was incredibly addictive. It was incredibly uncomfortable. And I think because of those things, it made it such a good read. And I rated it 4 stars. I feel like just because it was on the shorter side, I almost wanted more of the story, but the ending was really good as well. So I understood like why it ended when it did. And because I am a writer myself, I write poetry, but I would love to explore writing fiction one day. And this writing style just like was so inspiring to me, because I felt like it was like a style that like I really connected with and would like want to like explore, trying myself. And then I picked up the most random read of the month, which yeah, it was random. This was Cash by Jessica Peterson. And again, this was like a free audiobook on Audible that I just randomly decided to pick up. Like, as small town country cowboy romance as you can get. Even like the voice actors were like performing with, maybe the voice actors had southern accents, and it was country. This is basically a story about a girl who lives in the city, and her dad used to own this ranch, and she basically inherits it, and she has to leave her life in the city to go work at this ranch in order to get her inheritance. And she didn't have not that she didn't have a good relationship with her dad, she just didn't really have much of a relationship with her dad because her mom kind of kept her from him. And then obviously she runs into the guy that is running the ranch. His name is Cash, which is like, what even is that name? Like, it's so country. They have a bit of a like enemies to lovers kind of thing, and it goes from there. She basically falls back in love with being in the country, being on the ranch, on the farm, riding horses, milking the cows. You know how I be. All the country things, and simultaneously having a romance with this cowboy, basically. It was a silly little goofy time. I don't think I'm ever going to think about this book ever again. So I would probably say, when I rated this, when I made my notes officially, I said 3 stars. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm going to say 2.5. Like, is that mean? 2.5 stars? Girl, like, it was like trash. like it just like wasn't that good. But it like, I also like just like kind of had a fun time. Like, it just wasn't that deep, do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna say 2.5 stars. Just, I feel like that feels right, like mentally for me. So yeah. Then we moved on to a anticipated release, but I think this came out before the start of the year, so I got it for Christmas, I think. Yeah. Anyway, just in case you were wondering how I purchased it. This was like an anticipated release for me. It came out in November, or it came out before Christmas, is from what I remember, and that is Crown Tide by Alex Astor, which is the 4th book in the Light Lark series, and I rated this 4 stars. Although my note says question mark, but no, I stand by the 4 stars. I really enjoyed this, and it's hard to speak about it unless you, like, it's hard to explain fully what the plot is about without giving you spoilers if you've not read the entire Light Lark series. What I will say is that the love triangle is finally concluded. So Isla Crown finally decides, you know, who she chooses. So that's like a real, like, nice conclusion. What I will say, in some ways, I feel like this series is dragging a little bit, and it could have been a trilogy, and I know I'm not alone in that opinion. I just feel like I want the conclusion now, and it feels like it's like dragging. And this happens sometimes in fantasy books where, like in this one, like, hopefully this doesn't give too much away, is Isla and then like the 2 male characters, Grim and Oro, like they're not all together during the book, if that makes sense. They're actually like really separated. I don't really like when they're like separated and like having all their own side quests, because then it just like feels like so much to keep track of. I just prefer when they're all together and it's all happening. What I will say, what I think bumped it up from a 3.5 to 4 stars was the cliffhanger and what it kind of like ended on, and like it just like blew my mind and I felt very emotional. So the fact that we have to wait for book 5, the final, which I think is the final book in the Light Lark series, is kind of like killing me, but like I'm obviously gonna have to wait. The final book I want to talk about is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. When I tell you, this has been on my TBR card since like April last year, I swear. Like, I have had this book for a long time, and I think the resistance to picking this up was that I haven't finished Magnolia Parks, and I still have that last book, and I haven't picked up that last book because it's so long, and I just have a resistance to it. So I think that resistance created resistance for this, even though this is a standalone. Basically, this is about a girl named Georgia who has to go back to Carolina, South Carolina or North Carolina? Where does she go? So she has to go back to her family in South Carolina for her dad's funeral, and like she's basically was very much like the black sheep of her family, has always felt like very rejected, but she does have like a special bond with her brother. And then so basically there's 4 siblings, and her brother really like have a bond, and then the other 2 are kind of close, and then there's like a lot of tension between those pairs of siblings, if you will. And basically her brother Oliver brings his AA sponsor named Sam, and he is basically there while they're all navigating like the death of their dad and all the stuff that it's brought up for her being back in her family home that she was basically more or less exiled from. An important thing to note about Georgia as a character is that she's like a body language expert, so she picks up on what everyone is thinking all the time, because that's like what she's studying and what she's like works in, is like picking up on everyone's body language. So like that just like adds a really interesting element of like she's like constantly reading people, and obviously that's like impacted her. Yeah, and then they read the will of the dad, and it kind of sends them on a little bit of an adventure to like uncover some stuff about their dad that they didn't know all along, having a bit of a romance with this guy Sam. I absolutely love this. I think this book reminded me how much I love Jessa Hastings' writing. It is incredibly addictive and like all-consuming, beautiful, romantic writing that just really pulls you in. I just loved the emotional depth and the discussion around like family trauma, sibling relationships, parent relationships, like, you know, sexuality, about religion, because her family, she grew up ultra religious and then has kind of found religion for herself and like what that means to her, like, and she's kind of like almost like a morally, I almost want to say like a morally gray like female character that you are cheering on, but you're also like, make better decisions 5 stars, 5 stars in February. Can we believe that? I'm on a roll. I am going for it with the books this year. The final thing I want to say, like similar to what I said about Half His Age, this writing style and like story is just like really inspiring to me because it's very similar to the kind of fiction I'd love to explore writing myself whenever I get to it. So that's like, I think part of the enjoyment of some of these books was not just enjoying a good story because it's good writing, it's good fiction, but because it's inspiring to me to consume art that I also want to create, if that makes sense. So 5 stars for The Conditions of Will. That's it, guys. Those are all the books I read in February. I have to say, I'm really feel like I'm more and more as I like make content about books and like I'm reading more than I ever have. Like I'm discovering more what I like and what I don't like anymore. And I feel like my taste has changed even from like the last like year of like being on Book Talk and stuff. Like I feel like the books, I look back on the books I read like this time last year and it's actually changed so much. And so that's just like really fun to talk about and to share my love of books. And make sure you like and subscribe, and please comment a book emoji below if you made it all the way through to the end of this video. Every like and every subscribe, every view like means so much to me. I am a new creator and it's just like, it's not an easy thing to build a platform like from scratch, but like I'm just doing this because like I love books and I love talking about books. I genuinely have felt so supported by all my friends and family as I've taken on this new journey of making content on YouTube. I'm very used to short form content. I've been making content for Instagram for a long time and I also am a social media manager. So I'm like very used to like short form content. So this is like a whole other like beast, if you will. But I just want to say like everyone watching it, like it is like meant so much to me to like even get like 10 views. Like I know like growth on YouTube takes time, and that's why I'm showing up as often as I can, and I am posting new videos every Sunday at 11 a.m. the perfect time to like have a cup of coffee, catch up on some YouTube and hear my wonderful voice. So make sure you subscribe and I will see you next Sunday. Okay, bye.